Today's project is making a custom wooden welcome sign that can be scaled to the nth degree depending on what tools you have available.
1, 2, 3!
Now let's talk about tools for a split second. You're gonna need a few things for this project. The first is gonna be some sanding equipment. So you can usually get a good orbital sander at Home Depot or Lowe's for between $50 and $100. They're usually battery powered, Ryobi, DeWalt. The standard name brands work perfectly fine. And honestly, Harbor Freight makes good ones too. You're also gonna need a vinyl cutter. Now, a vinyl cutter comes in many different names and different types and sizes. Ours is a Seiki, which is a larger, more industrial sized cutter, but they also come as like silhouettes and crickets. Those are all vinyl cutters. You're gonna need a vinyl cutter for this. And really, the size of your sign is gonna depend mostly on your vinyl cutter. Now that's pretty much all you need for this. As we go through, there are gonna be some things depending on what you're doing to your sign, how you're treating it, how you're finishing it. We may need a couple of tools along the way, but those are the only things that you have to complete this project. So now let's get into the materials. The first thing you're gonna have is a piece of wood. Now, when I need a piece of wood, my favorite word is free. Here at Sanctuary, we've got a huge pile of free lumber that I just went scouring through, found a good piece to put on this door that I'm making my welcome sign for. Now these signs can lean up against a front door at your house, but this one needs to actually attach to a metal door. So what I'm gonna be doing is attaching some really low strength, like refrigerator magnets, to the back of the sign. So I'm gonna need my 4 magnets, and I'm gonna need some sort of adhesive. I'm also choosing to spray paint this sign to give it a little bit of color and make it pop to let people look at it very quickly. Now the first step is my piece of wood that I've chosen from my scrap pile is not exactly clean. It's got an old finish on it. It's kind of brown, purpley kind of looking thing. It's not the color that I want it to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it through the drum sander and sand it down. You do not need a super expensive drum sander to be able to do something like this. An orbital sander will do just fine. It may just take a little bit longer. But if you are thinking about getting a drum sander, don't forget dust collection. These things produce a massive amount of dust. Now that I've got it sanded down and clean, it's time to paint it the color that I want it. Now I'm kind of going for a little bit of a distressed look here. Again, you can go through, you can stain these, you can just lacquer them, you can paint them. You do need to make sure that if it's going to be outside, that your finish needs to be outdoor friendly. So I'm choosing to spray paint mine. I'm gonna spray paint the color that I have here on my piece, and then I'm just gonna kind of sand it back off to give it a distressed look. Now while that's drying and I'm getting ready to sand it, I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to cut my vinyl. Now like I said, we've got a Seiki 30-inch vinyl cutter here at Sanctuary, and so I'm gonna hop on the computer, go into our VinylMaster Pro 5 software, and put in a design that I make on Canva. Now, here again, the customization is endless. You can make as many different fonts. You can make this in Word, you can make it in Adobe, you can make it on Canva like I'm doing. You can make it a million different ways, and then bring it into your vinyl cutting software, whether it's Silhouette, Cricut, or VinylMaster, and send it to your cutter. Within your software, you should be able to scale your signage to be as big or as small as you'd like it. My sign's only about 15 inches wide and maybe 12 inches tall, so this is going to be a fairly small sign. I've seen welcome signs as large as 5 feet tall and 2 feet wide. It's completely up to you. Once you've got your file loaded into VinylMaster, you'll need to vectorize it so that it creates an outline, trace that image, and make sure to accept and to say that that is the trace that you want to cut. Now it's time to load in our vinyl. I happen to have some vinyl laying around in our scrap piles here at Sanctuary. I just grabbed a color that I thought would look cool with our blue background, loaded it into our vinyl cutter, and I always recommend doing an area test before cutting anything. Once I know that my design is gonna land right on the vinyl, I go ahead and send it to the cutter. And just like that, the machine does the rest. Once our design is cut, we're gonna need to do what's called weeding. Now, weeding is where we take away all the vinyl that we don't need to transfer. Luckily, our machine is really nice and sharp. We've got a really good needle on there, so when we pull away all that excess, it comes right off, and the letters that we want to stay right on the back of that paper. Now, something that I learned, and this is just a personal preference, is transfer paper is great because it has grid lines, but it's really expensive. So my alternative is to use blue painter's tape. Blue painter's tape is a lot cheaper and has the same adhesive characteristics as transfer paper. So I'm able to put layer after layer of blue painter's tape just covering each letter of my vinyl cut. Once I've covered all the letters of the vinyl, I can just pull it off of the back of the paper and I'm ready to put it on our sign. Now keep in mind, if you do a big sign like I was talking about earlier, you're gonna have to use a lot of transfer paper or a lot of blue painter's tape. And the bigger your sign, the harder it is to keep your letters all lined up as you're transferring them. Now we go downstairs to our sanded and painted sign and attach the blue painter's tape with the letters on it. We line it up very carefully to make sure that our letters are as straight as possible. Once they're attached and we think we've got them in the right place, we just slowly remove the blue painter's tape. Once the letters are on, we can flip the sign over and start attaching our magnets. I used clamps to keep the magnets in place while the glue dries. The adhesive that I used requires a 24-hour cure time, and I do not want to sit there and hold these things all night. Now that we've got everything attached, I'm going to take it a step further and spray a clear coat on top of this to make sure that those letters really stay on that sign. I'm going to do 2 or 3 layers of this just to make sure that it coats all the nooks and crannies of those letters and the wood on the sign. Once this is dry and the adhesive on our magnets is dry, our sign is ready to go. I'll take the clamps off and let's give it a shot. That's perfect. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the very end. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like making stuff and seeing how things are made. And as always, go out there and make something awesome.